This is an area that we worked on progressively over a period of about a year and a half. Primarily, the first year was when we got most of the buckthorn out of here. There was other things, honeysuckle, not a whole lot of Dame's Rock and garlic mustard, but that was pulled out of here if we saw that. But this area was not infested with that. Primarily, it was a thicket of buckthorn. Right now, it's relatively open compared to how it was initially. There's some paths around here you couldn't see into these areas along those paths. It was so dense, and the buckthorn within the forest area was relatively dense also. It took a lot of effort to get this under control, a lot of people, a lot of time, but consistently doing it over a year and a half, we've got it under control to the next step, which is getting the smaller ones that we did not get, and any kind of seed bank that we may encounter within this area from the buckthorn. We prefer just to get rid of those right away. And from what we can tell is within 12 months, the majority is going to sprout. After that, any native structure that you establish should be able to compete with it very well, choking a lot of it out. If there's anything that's going to come up, it's going to be one or two plants that you can see a few years down the road and yank them up, if that effort can sustain itself for that period of time. Right now, it's kind of strange. It looks like some of the deer are browsing this buckthorn relatively heavily on the tops, which is unusual. It's all fresh growth. We had a lot of rain, so maybe that's what triggered it, which is good for us to a certain degree, but they're not eating enough of it. And as you can see, a lot of this area was relatively carpeted by buckthorn, so not much grew in here. However, there are some things that are popping up and are starting to establish themselves within the last year, particularly along this edge here, because this is where it was denser. Over there, it was dense, but a little bit more sporadic, which is usually the case in within the woodlands. It's not as dense along the edges as along the edges. So right now there is some stuff coming up, but it's going to need some help to get some things established. And you can see just a lot of little buckthorn that has to be addressed. And if we don't get that in a number of years, that's going to be large buckthorn. You're going to be right back to where we started. So we're just determining how to get rid of these. The best bet, I think, is to just cut them down and give them a little help to die. And there's quite a few of them, but two people working together, one person cutting, the other one treating them, a lot of these can go very quickly. Or a lot of these you can pull off the little ones or strip them. If you strip at this time of year, a lot of this stuff is going to die. And that's another approach which we may take, is just cut them down, strip them, and then check them next year and just keep thinning them out that way over a period of time. If there's only one person, that's what you want to do. Take a hedge clippers and cut down the new growth and have it go into winter without any reserves. So those are the two options in here right now. There's no seeding buckthorn in here at all. There hasn't been all this year whatsoever. Not one thing in this particular section has been allowed to seed this whole year. So that's one full year that there's no new generations going to be established. Right now we just have to expend the seed bank that's in here right now. Unfortunately, sometimes when you have these thickets, they came in here and cleaned them up a long time ago, took the big stuff out, and maybe some bigger ones that they could see, but they left a ton of it. So once those seeds went to germination and the plants that were left behind grew, it became a real nightmare in here. But that did make some of the native structures survive, which is a positive. But there was no follow-up. I find this quite often. It's like you'll go in there, clean up an area, and then you don't follow up. And now in 8 years, it's worse than it was before in some aspects, and twice the amount of work. And particularly, it's just more work. Whether it's worse or not depends on a number of factors. But for my opinion, just because of the time it takes to clean it up and the expansion of it, it's worse than the initial cleanup. So these efforts require 3 to 5 years to really get things under control. And then after that, like yearly sweeps, if you can maintain that just to keep things under control. The yearly sweeps aren't very much work at all. You just run around the spring and fall for the most part and take care of what you need to take care of. Right now, you've got to deal with these things year round until you get to that point. So yeah, that's where we're at in this section, is going to be dealing with all these little buckthorn. These are all about knee high, maybe waist high, nothing much more except a handful of chest high buckthorn. So a lot of these just stand out and you can just thin them out. That's always what you want to just keep thinning them out, thinning them out, thinning them out. And over time, there'll be none or less of them. For example, this little grouping right here, it looks like they got cut down and not dealt with or not pulled up. So if you just cut those two down, got two little bushes, yeah, that's like a 9 square feet that's taking up. You'll take it back. So it's a matter of procedure, and it's a matter of persistence.